Hey everyone, and welcome to the Headliner Podcast. We're your hosts, Nicholas and Elissa, and we're here to keep you in the loop on all the things you can do to promote your podcast. So, Elissa, what are we talking about today?
Summer break, but for podcasts.
Oh, okay. So, we're not going to talk about like going to the beach and the
I
carnival,
mean, we can.
watching a sunset while fireworks go off. It's fine. So, podcasting, yeah, let's do it.
It's summer, so people, take breaks. They go on vacation. It's a very normal thing.
Hmm.
But we are talking specifically about podcasters. So during the summer, podcasting too kind of takes a little bit of a break. So far in June, we've got 5 days left in June. I think that's right. 5 days left in June.
Sure. I mean, by the time this airs, maybe not, but
Yeah, it'll probably be July by then. But
yeah.
hey, you know what? Right now we're in June. So put your pretend caps on. But anyways, for podcasts, there's actually been 55% less podcasts been released month over month. So
Wow.
that's like kind of crazy. Granted, okay, and this is also from Listen Notes, and it's just their publicly available data. So if you go on podcast stats, so this is going to just more look at new podcasts. So not necessarily like all of podcasting, but still, that's a pretty significant drop. Yes, we have 5 days left in June, but so far 55% less podcasts are coming to the fold in the month of June when compared to May.
Wow, that is such an interesting. I guess it almost makes sense, right? Everyone's going on vacation, like you said. Schools are getting out, and podcasting's pretty big around like people in college, grad school, that demographic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really strange. Is there any change that we know of in consumption also, or is this just are we just going on the vibes here?
So it was a lot harder to find like actual data
I
points
guess a lot
for
of podcasters
consumption.
wouldn't admit that their shows like have less listenership. That fair enough.
Funnily enough, you know me, I love Reddit. So I was getting on the different subreddits and I love my R podcasting. Love that Reddit. It's great. Every year there's like an inane amount of people that are just putting like, hey, are your downloads dropping too? And if you're in this Reddit, if you're a podcaster, people are brutally honest. And people were like, yeah, my downloads are dropping. I'm down 20%. I'm down 30%. And it's not that podcasters are doing anything differently. It's just simply there's a lot of change kind of happening this time of year. So you said school's out, routines are changing a lot,
Sure.
vacation does happen, people unplug, they go into
Yeah.
nature. Granted, podcasts are easily accessible on mobile devices, but everybody kind of does need a little bit of a break. And sometimes listening of podcasts takes a break too.
Yeah. And look, this isn't, I mean, you said it. This isn't just podcasting. This is just people being people, as Depeche Mode once said. Well, it's actually people are people, but whatever. This happens everywhere, and you can see this in television also. Like the old model of network television was 24-ish episodes a year, every week, half the year. That half of the year when the show isn't running is usually like late spring through summer. That's when the shows would go, they would get their reruns, you know? And it's because, yeah, no one's at home during the summer, presumably, you know? There are parts of the world where like stores run on different hours during the summertime. This is like pretty normalized in Europe. So, yeah, it makes sense that podcasting listenership shifts. I wouldn't feel bad about it. We should tell our listenership to not feel bad about it, you know? It just
Yeah.
happens. It's out of your
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
But
Our numbers are down right now. Not like crazy. I think we're down
yeah.
like 10%, but we are down. So,
Well, there you go. And I appreciate the transparency. This is the first I've heard about it, by the way, for everyone listening. So, okay, there's a summer slump, so to speak, in podcasting. That's a normal thing. What can podcasters do with that knowledge? Is it maybe the encouragement for them to take a much needed break, or is there something they can do on their show?
yeah. So it is pretty much up to the podcaster and kind of your bandwidth, your resources, all that thing. Before we get into like all of the things you can do to kind of help prevent or mitigate that summer slump, we're going to start off with it's perfectly fine to take a break. You probably should take a break, in fact. A
I
lot of
needed to hear that.
podcasts.
Thank you. I'm going to leave the
Oh,
call now.
oh, please don't. I need you here for at least like 15 more minutes.
Okay. Well, I can do 8.
Okay, I'll talk fast.
Okay.
Um, but anyways, It's very normal for podcasts to kind of take a break. There's seasons in podcasts. Seasons are kind of designed initially to help give it a little bit more structure and then to kind of have those planned breaks. Granted, that's not all that seasons do, but that is one of the reasons that people kind of utilize seasons.
Hmm.
Nicholas, you mentioned like the TV model. Pretty similar. I think the average is about 20 to 25 episodes per season of a
Yeah.
podcast get released. You take a break. Very normal. In fact, I think like yesterday there was a article published by the podcast sessions, and it talks all about why, excuse me, the article is called Why Smart Podcasters Schedule Breaks. So it's literally just talking about like, hey, it's not a bad thing to take a break. It's actually probably better for you and your show.
Look, also it's worth remembering there's a lot you can do while your show's on break. It doesn't necessarily have to mean I'm on break. I'm going to rock flip-flops for the next 3 months and scour the beach. You can work on your podcast. You just don't necessarily have to put out episodes. And you can work at a diminished rate if you want. There's a whole bunch of variables that you can kind of key in for your own needs. One thing that I've noticed, or not noticed so much as that I think is a good idea, is you can use a break in your podcast as the opportunity to play Monday morning quarterback a little bit. You can go back to your older episodes and listen to them. And now that you're a little far removed from production, you can actually get insights that you wouldn't have had in the moment. You can go, oh, why did I not cut this section from this episode out? And then when you come back to podcasting and your production ramps up again, you can just have a more informed perspective on what you need to do and how you need to do it. This is a regular thing in art. The thing I learned when I was learning how to paint in college was every couple of hours, stop painting for a bit. Take a step back, go get a cup of coffee, and then just like look at the painting with fresh eyes. So maybe one thing you can do on a break is just like go back to your show with a fresh set of ears.
Exactly. And another thing, and also before we get to like into what you can do, I do want to say if you're taking a break, tell people you're taking a break ahead of time.
Yes.
Your audience trusts you, they're giving you your time, giving you their time, excuse me. That's much better. um, but anyways, communicating with your listeners, it's going to kind of help build that trust. It's going to help with listener retention. If you just have a show you've been consistently producing bi-weekly, and then come June, July, you just stop. People are like, did it die? What
Yeah.
happened? Before you go on that break, say, hey guys, I'm going on a break. I'll be back hopefully August or whenever you're thinking about coming back. I'll still be active on social media or still accessible for feedback, whatever you normally say in your podcast type of stuff. But just the whole point is please let people know that you're going on a break.
Especially in podcasting, there's a term that people like to use, which is pod fade, which is when a
Mm-hmm.
show just fades away. And, the nature of online content is there's so much of it and it's constantly coming out. Just say goodbye. Say, like, hey, I got to do this thing. I got to take a break. I got to figure out what I'm doing next season. I'll be back. If you want to go the extra mile there, you don't even have to just do it with an episode. You can update your social media handles, like the description for your TikTok or your Instagram to say as much, and even your description for your show. Just throw that right there, caps or bold. I don't know if I think some podcast apps support bold text. Throw it in there and just be like, this show is on hiatus until XYZ, you know. So, yeah, that's a really great tip over there. And I'm sure you have a bunch of other great tips on other things they can do to help, just stay in the limelight a little bit while they're gone.
I think they're great, but yeah, we're gonna keep going with it now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Um, so another easy thing, if you're like, hey, I want to take a break, but I don't necessarily want my show to take a break, is you have the ability to batch record and schedule out episodes. Granted, that can be kind of a bear to do, especially if you have guests that you interview. That can really start to add in time, and now you have to schedule a little bit more. So it might kind of increase your workload for a period of time, but your show will kind of keep going. You don't necessarily have to have that break in your show. You're still maintaining your content stream content stream. But yeah,
Also, you don't have to look at it so linearly either.
mm,
Okay, maybe let's say we're on different podcasts and I interviewed you in September. What's to say that I can't like have you on the show again? Like maybe let's say I go on hiatus from June to August. You were last on the show in September. maybe in like January or February, we have another chat about something. Maybe you're still promoting a book, you know, all about Elissa, whatever. And we're still promoting it. You're still going to promote it over the summer. So maybe we just have that conversation several months in advance, like you suggested. But I don't edit the episode until June when I, instead of spending 8 hours working on a podcast, can now spend 2 hours editing this interview. So maybe your break isn't a full stop. Maybe it is just, you know, less work for a while. That's all it needs to be, you know? Other things like that. Also, I'm sure you were going to bring it up. You can run a rerun. We were talking about the television model. Just do a rerun. And yeah, stuff like that. The little things that just can save time. The best part is thanks to just the nature of these podcasting tools, you can schedule this stuff out. If you know you're going to go on hiatus, you can schedule the reruns like 6 months in advance. You don't even have to remember to do anything at that point.
And it's really easy to do rerun. We did like a modified version of a rerun.
Mhm.
So
We did a
I'll
clip
shout it.
show.
We did do a clip show.
It
Oh
is
my
another television
gosh.
thing. It's a clip
We
show.
did do
Hey,
the clip
Alyssa,
show.
remember that time we taught people how to promote a podcast? I remember. And then we played the clip.
I do remember that. Um, wild times.
Yeah.
But I'll shout it out. There's a lot of tools out there that can help you to kind of have these trailers, have these remixes that it's not necessarily making new content, it's just repurposing what you already have.
Hmm.
So TLDL by Headliner, we did a whole episode. Okay, so we talked for like 5 minutes about TLDL. That took 5 minutes. And then we put in a couple of episodes into TLDL and it pulled clips and it gave little AI hosted insights. And then it made like a lovely audio experience that we then put into our actual podcast. And then we had a podcast. And I think it took like, we made the podcast maybe 15 minutes. I don't
Uh,
know.
it took more than 15 minutes, but it took less than a usual episode takes.
Here we go.
You know, I know I'm really into my definite statements today.
You
So,
are.
and look, the same thing goes for the actual promotion. Even if your show's on hiatus, you could just run old clips, you know. I actually have a few experiences with this that went over pretty well. I have a personal podcast too, and in 2020, I had to put my show on hiatus. I was going through health stuff, and the show was on hiatus for like 3 months, maybe. We didn't miss an episode though, because I kept doing reruns. And whenever it was time to promote stuff, all I would do is I would go to my folder where I keep all my audiograms or my video clips for the podcast. I would pick one out, I would write a new description for it, and I would upload it to Instagram. And that was 3 months of content because I just kept all of these files on standby. And the best part is, if you're a podcaster and you don't happen to have a backup of your old episodes, guess what? Your RSS feed is your backup. So very, very easy stuff. And also, you can use tools to make it even easier. If you have a video podcast, you can use Eddy and you can use Make. And if you have audio, you can still use Eddy and you can still use Make. And we can literally use automation to create the clips for you.
But while we're on that, uh, even if you're okay, say you're not going to kind of batch, you're not going to repurpose, you can still post, you can still engage with your audience. So
Yeah.
people are still going to be out on social media. They're still going to be out on the web, still going to be out on YouTube looking for content, looking for things. Your show could very easily pop up, even if you're not necessarily creating something new. So you could, again, you could schedule out content. So we use tools like Buffer to help us kind of do that. For example, I myself, I'm going on vacation next week.
Oh,
I
really?
run, I'm very excited. I run all of Headliner's social media. It's a company. I can't just like, okay, bye. And just because I'm on vacation, Headliner's on vacation. That's not how that works. So I did schedule out content ahead of time. So we'll still kind of have our normal consistent flow and our audience is still going to be engaged. I'll still probably like check on a little bit and just, we do get replies to things. Our threads has been very active, by the way. Headliner app, we're there. Follow us. But you can just kind of interact with people as people are just passively scrolling on social media. Super easy for your content to come across their feed, whether that is your audience, that's people already listening, or just new people. So people that are just wanting to learn about podcast marketing, podcast growth. There's a very good chance that a Headliner clip or a Headliner tweet or X, I don't know what it's called anymore. I still say
Skeet?
tweet.
I think
Skeet.
Skeet. No, that's
You
Blue
said
Sky.
Skeet. Is that really?
I think that's what they call it on Blue Sky. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
I don't
that's
know why they wouldn't
hilarious.
call it a cloud because sky, but whatever.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
But regardless, this post on social media keeps your show semi-active and it still keeps it discoverable.
Well, okay, there you go. Yeah, definitely great stuff. And also, like, I want to just point out, yeah, you can make organic, but depending on your content, you can make organic posts while you're on vacation. I don't think Alyssa necessarily can because she represents a company, but I almost said country, the fine state of headliner. Anyway, but no, like if your personality is a huge part of your brand, and you're an individual with a podcast and it revolves around you and your business, you can post about your vacation. By all means, that's actually preferred. People like companies and podcasts that are people because people like people. I'm saying this because I feel like a lot of people need to be reminded of that.
They do.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, just definitely, repurpose your content, post about your vacation if it fits your brand, even just stories. There's actually a study, I literally just heard it this morning. Apparently, like social media is kind of veering more toward like personal stuff instead of posts. So stories are usually getting more engagement than a lot of posts on Instagram now and stuff like that. And you can use that as a brand. Just post some stories while you're on vacation. Takes 2 seconds. Drinking a mimosa at the beach, take a picture of the mimosa, then put a silly caption on it, like the mimosa with the mosta.
Excellent caption.
Thank you.
I will not be doing that for headliner, but
Well, that's just a shame.
somebody could. I
You
know,
could have,
right?
if you were going to a beach, you could have taken a video of the beach and then asked me to edit a waveform in there as an audiogram.
I mean, I am going to a beach, so we could very well do this, but we'll offline about this.
Okay. I feel like an argument's coming up where you're going to tell me it's a terrible idea and nobody will ever go for it. And I just want to say right now, if you send me a video of a beach or a coast, I will literally do it with this audio of me arguing with you.
I didn't say I said quite literally nothing. That's all. I felt a rant coming on. That is all.
Yeah, that's
But
fine. Okay.
anyways,
On that note, the takeaways from this episode is Alyssa and I are going to argue in a second, and your podcast, you deserve a break. Take a break if you need it. There are things you can do while you're on break, though. Reposting old episodes, repurposing old content, maybe batch recording in advance, stuff like that. And maybe your break is just going from weekly to bi-weekly for the summer. It could be something as small as that.
true.
Yeah.
And you can even just kind of create like trailers too. So you
Yeah,
could just
sure.
do like teasing content if you're like, hey, especially if you are staying active on social media, people probably want to know like kind of what's cooking in the background. So you could say, hey, working on this for the next season. That's kind of like a little tease, a little trailer.
Sure.
Or you could make like an actual like nice produced trailer with all of the sounds, all of the things.
Sure. The
Um,
trailer voice guy, in a
exactly,
world where podcasts are on break, that
exactly.
stuff.
Exactly.
Um,
They all build like some type of hype, some type of excitement about your show, while most importantly keeping your audience engaged.
yeah. And on that note, you can even, if you have a more narrative podcast or something research centered where your break isn't really a break, you're just not putting episodes out because you're researching topics and stuff, you can post about that. And, there's something to be said about like a simple payoff and a simple setup and a payoff where maybe in July, while you're researching your next season, you're posting, let's say you have a literature podcast. You're posting pictures of the books you're reading over the summer and you're doing your like little paragraph long review, your little Goodreads style review on your social media. You can always use that as a teaser, like, oh, I might cover this on my podcast. And that's organic content. That's people that are looking for reviews of the book and not necessarily a podcast. That's stuff they will find.
Yeah, I think that's kind of all I got. So just kind of the big final takeaways here. Breaks are normal and they can be strategic.
Yes, there you go. That is it. That is the takeaway. Thank you so much for that, Alyssa. And this is great advice. I feel like a lot of this advice is stuff that people listening might feel like they already knew on some level, but it's important to have validated. So,
Yes,
yeah, validation's important. Who knew?
it's nice.
Yeah, keep that in mind, Alyssa, for when we argue in a few minutes about my totally sick wave idea.
Whatever.
Okay. Well, on that note, thank you to everyone for listening. We'll be back eventually. See, I'm not even practicing what we preach. We'll be back with a new episode soon about podcasting, and we hope you enjoyed this one. Take care.